In this lesson, we are going to configure MongoDB and start using MongoDB with our project. So I'll go to the MongoDB official website. So I'll type mongodb.com. So we'll head over to mongodb.com. So you can click on the sign in. So if you don't have an account, click on the sign up over here. But if you already have an account, just log in with your account. So I already have an account, so I'll just log in with my account and I'll get back to you once I'm logged in. So once you are logged in, just click on the build a database. So click on build a database, then you select the free version over here, then you select your provider. So I like to go with the Google Cloud. Then you give your cluster name, so I can call it maybe PyMongo. So that's the name of my cluster, so you can choose to call it whatever you want. So I click on create. After this, you set up a username and a password. So I'll set a username and a password. After you finish setting your username and password, click on create user. So I'll give my username, maybe I can choose to call it maybe John Deal. So make sure to give a username and a good password. So you can use your name for the username and you can create a strong password. So I'll just go with a simple password, maybe 1 2 3 4 5 6, but make sure to choose a stronger password. So I'll click on create user. So it said my password is weak, so I can add something like PyMongo. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then PyMongo. And I click on create. So I have John Deal and the password is 1 2 3 4 5 6 and then PyMongo. Then we'll click on create. We'll click on finish and close rather. So I'll click on go to my database. Then I'll click on save. But if you already have a cluster, you don't need to go through all that. You just need to come to this connect. That's if you already have a cluster created. But if you don't have a cluster created, you have to create the database and then create a cluster first. So once I have everything set up, then I can click on connect over here. Then I'll click on drivers. Then I'll choose a language over here. So it's Python, so I'll go with Python. Then I'll select my Python version. So I'm currently using Python 3.11, but if you are not using at the time of recording this video, if you are using a much more later version, so choose the version. So I'll go with Python 3.11, so that's my version. Then I'll click on this code over here. Then I'll open my command prompt. Then I'll stop my server with Ctrl+C or Command C. Then I'll use the CLS to clear everything. So to also get your Python version, just type Python -- version to get your Python version. So my version is 3.11. So I'll paste this over here. So this is the instruction to install PyMongo on your environment. So once it's installed, I'll get back to you. So now PyMongo is installed successfully. So I can rerun my server with the uvcon in main app reload. So run your server again and then open your folder. So we'll create a new folder here. We'll create a config folder. So we'll create a config folder, and inside the config folder we'll create a file, the config file. So this file will be used to configure our database. That's to simply connect our database. So I'll create a config.py file over here. So inside my config.py file over here, I can head over to the website. Then I'll click on view full code sample rather. Then I'll copy everything here. Then I'll just paste everything here. So if I come, I have my username. So this is the password. So I'll just delete everything here, and then I'll put my password. It's 123456 then PyMongo. So that's my password. So you replace everything here with your password. So now we'll save it. Let's Control S, you save your file. So once our file is saved, then we can test everything and see if everything is working successfully. So we'll have this print over here. If you have this message on your console, once you run the file, it means everything is running successfully. So I'll come over here, then I'll stop my server again with the Control C. So if you press Control C to stop the server, I'll use the CLS to clear everything. So now we are inside our main directory, that's the PyMongo directory, but we want to navigate inside this directory. We want to navigate inside the config directory and then run the file inside there. So to navigate inside the config directory, we'll use the CD, then config. So now we'll have config over here. So now we are inside the config directory. So we can run our Python file with Python, then the name of the file and its config, then we'll put the .py, then I'll press enter to run it. So we have this error. So we have an error here saying the DNS Python module must be installed. So we need this module, the DNS Python. So we'll use the pip install, then we'll simply paste the DNS Python to install the module. So our module is installing. So now we have our module installed. So we can run the file again with the Python, then the name of the file config.py, then I'll press enter. So we'll have this message. So we have successfully connected to MongoDB. But if you don't have this message, then you can have another issue, and the issue will be on your access. So if you have an issue, I'll recommend you come to this database access, then you just click on the access. Once you click on the access, click on the network access rather. So it's network access, not access. Then I can add an IP. So click on add IP. So select access, select allow access from everywhere. Select allow access from anywhere rather. So allow access from anywhere, then I'll click on confirm. So you can change this later. So I'll click on confirm. So I'll wait for it to finish. Once it's active, then you can rerun your code. So you may have trouble with your IP. So if you have trouble with your IP, you have to go to the network tab and make sure to follow what I've just shown you before you can have your database set up successfully. So now we have our database connected successfully. So now I'll head over to my config file, and then I'll create my application. So to create your application or your database, you just write maybe DB. So I'm creating a variable called DB, and inside the variable I'll just type client, then I'll put dot, then the name of my app. So I can choose to call it my blogs. So that's the name of my app, my blogs, because I'm creating a blogging app. So I'll come over here. So I'll come down, then I'll create my collection. So I can create a collection. Maybe I can call it a blogs. I can call it blogs collection. Then I'll set it equals to. Then I'll use DB. Then I'll bring the square brackets, and inside the square brackets, then I'll give the name of my collection. So I can call my collection maybe my blogs. So that's the name of my collection. Let me just call it blogs. So this is my collection blogs. So you can have multiple collections. So I can have the users collection. Then I can set it equals to DB. Then I can call it users. So now we have two collections. So you can create multiple collections. So we have the blogs collection and the users collection. But let's comment the users collection out for now and go with the blogs collection.